In mid-October, the Ukrainian armed forces turned a small stretch of asphalt in the Kursk region in western Russia into a road of death. Despite the significant amount of time that has passed, nothing has changed. The occupiers continue to follow this path, losing lives and equipment. As Forbes writes, the road past Zeleny Shlyak has become a trap for Russian troops. At least 10 military vehicles were recently destroyed there, and now they stand there next to old burned-out equipment. The Ukrainian 225th Airborne Assault Battalion has published a fresh video from this direction. The military noted, "The fields are mined, the road is shelled by our artillery, every movement is carefully monitored." As is known, Russian leader Vladimir Putin gave his troops until February to retake the Kursk region territories, which are now under the control of the defense forces. But Russian hardware from a quartet of Marine and Airborne brigades and regiments continues to attack along the same road near Zeleny Shlyak, a tiny hamlet on the western edge of the Bulge. And the Ukrainians continue to knock them out with mines, drones and artillery. The Russian attacks in October have mostly involved BTR-82 infantry fighting vehicles, part of a batch of at least 40 16-ton 8-wheelers that the Kremlin has just delivered to the front lines, the newspaper notes. However, it seems that the BTR-82s are running out now. Judging by the smoking wreckage along the road of death, BMPs and BMDs, MTLB armored tractors and Buran armored trucks have been destroyed there recently. The Russians will probably have to go into battle with whatever equipment their industry can quickly supply. "I think we will see many new vehicles during future assaults," writes UAV operator Kriegsforscher, who is fighting in Kursk. According to him, "We are talking about at least two types of armored trucks, the 14-ton Typhoon VDV and the 8-ton Tiger. Both models are relatively easy to manufacture, but neither can compare with the 21-ton BMP-3 in terms of armor protection and cross-country ability." Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said German Chancellor Olaf Scholz was not carrying a message to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky from the Russian leader following their phone call last month. Russia, Peskov said, does not have any expectations from the visit, but Peskov said he recalled, with satisfaction, that the first phone call in a long time between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Scholz. "Dialogue, of course, is always positive," Peskov said. Asked to comment on the situation in Georgia, he said that Russia views parallels between events in Georgia and those in 2013 and 2014 in Ukraine, when a wave of protests was triggered by the then pro-Russian president's decision not to sign an association agreement with the EU. Peskov said Russia is not interfering in Georgia but suggested others were trying to destabilize the situation. "All the signs are of an attempt to carry out an orange revolution," he said, referring to protests following a disputed election in Ukraine over the winter of 2004 to 2005, which later saw a pro-Western leader come to power. "Moscow continues to support the Syrian government," Peskov said. "A position will be formed regarding what is needed to stabilize the situation," he added.
Я бы не сказал, что у нас есть какие-то ожидания от этого визита. Мы, разумеется, наблюдаем за всеми контактами. Собственно, Германия продолжает свою линию на безусловную поддержку Украины. Вместе с тем мы действительно можем просто напомнить с удовлетворением, что недавно был первый за долгое время контакт президента России с канцлером ФРГ. Диалог, конечно, это всегда позитивное явление. А большего сказать здесь нечего. Мы внимательно отслеживаем все новости, которые будут поступать из Киева на этот счет.
Для начала уточнения по визиту канцлера Шольца в Киев. Передавал ли президент Путин через него что-то Зеленскому?
Нет. Мы, конечно же, продолжаем поддерживать Башара Асада и на соответствующих уровнях мы продолжаем наши контакты, анализируем ситуацию. Будет формироваться позиция относительно того, что нужно для стабилизации обстановки. Все, что происходит в Грузии, это внутреннее дело Грузии. Мы не вмешивались и не имеем в виду вмешиваться в эти процессы. Другое дело, что налицо, конечно, попытка раскачать ситуацию. Мы видели подобные события в целом ряде стран. Наверное, самая прямая параллель, которую можно провести, это события Майдана на Украине. Все признаки попытки осуществления оранжевой революции. Грузинские власти принимают меры по стабилизации ситуации, возвращению ситуации к спокойствию.
Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of the Russian Federation's National Security Council, has responded to Georgian President Salome Zurabishvili's refusal to resign from office after her term expires, saying that they used to hang for such things, and pointing out to the protesters that revolutionary activities usually end badly. In Georgia, there is an attempt at another color revolution. Some of the individuals on the street yell "destroy" and set fire to everything around them. The remaining half is silent. The eccentric, broad Salome Zurabishvili, expired president of Georgia, and the industrious French student of Zbigniew Brzezinski failed to resign her office because she refused to recognize the elections. Formerly, they used to hang on lampposts for such things. We live in much more humane times now, so she dodged a bullet. In general, all the conditions are in place to plunge Georgia back into civil war. In summary, the neighbors swiftly follow the Ukrainian path down the black abyss. It typically ends badly, he said. Georgia's pro-Western president has said she will stay in post until new parliamentary elections are held, as protests continue over the government's decision to put EU accession negotiations on hold. Speaking to the BBC, Salome Zurabishvili, who has sided with the opposition, described the current parliament as illegitimate after allegations of fraud in last month's elections. Zurabishvili said she would retain her role as president despite the country's newly elected parliament saying it would choose her replacement on the 14th of December. Mass protests in the capital are continuing. Demonstrations were also taking place in the cities of Batumi, Kutaisi, Zugdidi, and other Georgian regions. I'm offering this stability for the transition because what these people on the streets are demanding is a call for new elections in order to restore this country and its European path, said Zurabishvili. Zurabishvili warned protesters of a possible provocation with alleged Georgian soldiers from Ukraine. According to her, such incidents are aimed against the protests. I cannot teach you how to do this, but I can warn you that I have received several reports in various forms that the Georgian military from Ukraine are preparing or have arrived to join this protest as military. This is a direct provocation. This is not happening. Don't believe it. This is directed against the protest. This is what worries the ruling party the most, she addressed the protesters. Earlier, the commanders of a number of Georgian units fighting on the side of Ukraine said they wanted to return and take part in the protests. The decision was supported by the leaders of the Caucasian Legion, Tbilisi, and Black Eagle. At the same time, the military emphasized that they were waiting for a signal from the president.